Combate Global, the man, Campbell McLaren in Miami. This is awesome. Thank you so much. We've got to talk first about...
Well, let me just talk about Miami.
Well, I talk about Miami, Campbell. Go ahead.
Combate started here. We started off as a reality show. We did it almost 8 years ago now. Filmed the entire thing in Miami. Miami talent. Chino y Nacho, Venezuelan pop duo that had relocated to Miami. They hosted the show. Of course, Daddy Yankee was in the show, a fixture in San Juan and Miami. And we really felt like the city was a character in the series. The series is produced by Bun and Murray. You know, they do the Kardashians and Project Runway.
Big time.
Great producers. And the show did great ratings. We brought a lot of women fans, which surprised a lot of people in MMA. But my daughter, who's a great writer and producer herself, she said, "Dad, a bunch of good-looking guys with their shirts off. Were you really that surprised?" So I learned something on that. But yeah, Miami's been an integral part. We did our first live events at Magic City, right? So that's where we did the first show. So I think really the birthplace of Combate Global is Miami.
And now Univision Studios in Miami, which is just, the production there just looks really cool. What have you thought about just the production team and putting that all together and doing it Univision?
Look, sometimes you do things out of necessity. And what COVID did, we canceled 28 of 30 live shows last year. And, for a relatively new company, that was tough. Right, that was a body blow. That was a tough shot. Staggered us, maybe even knocked us down. But as the fighters say, it's not how many times you get knocked down; it's how many times you get up. So we got up, and I think we wanted to just make sure that this year we could run all our 30 events. Right? No one can predict the future. You make your best guess. But for us, doing it in the studio did give us a great deal of control. And what happened was, with the help of Univision, we turned that into a positive. The set is unbelievable. To me, it looks a little bit like Tron. And when I started the UFC, my visual stimulus was, an inspiration was the game Mortal Kombat. So I wanted a real version of Mortal Kombat. Everyone wore their martial arts gi or costume or represented themselves through what their art would wear in a fight. And so that was great. And then when we came back this time, I really had a vision of almost a video game style set, but again, maybe a little bit like Tron, but something active and fierce and exciting. And I think one of the biggest creative problems we had is I would see other MMA organizations in boxing, when they were doing live events, when the fighter made their entrance through an empty hall, it lacked drama to me. I forget which fighter, they were pretending to do air high fives to people that weren't there. And it was very funny, but it wasn't drama. So we built this walkway, and the way it lights up, and I think it gives the fighter a chance to really come forward. And I think that was a great creative solution to the issue of not having a live audience.
It's just done so well, and the viewership. Now this is on at midnights on Friday nights on Univision in Spanish, and now it's going to be on CBS Sports Cable Network and Paramount Plus in English, with Max Britos and Juliana, the Venezuelan Vixen Pena, who's got a huge fight coming up against Amanda Nunes in the UFC. What does it say to you about the growth of Combate Global and now this new English partnership?
Well, I think that we're finally putting all the elements together for the U.S., right? So the name, we were originally called Combate Americas. And that S confused every English speaker. Americas? Wait, there's more than one? So that was confusing to people. But to everyone that came from a Spanish-speaking country, that was not unusual. And there's Latin America, Central America, North America, South America. There actually are a lot of Americas. But what we did in changing the name to Global is find a way to represent the fact that we really do this country versus country competition, really soccer style. So Max Bredos fits into that perfectly because he does a lot of soccer broadcasting. And Juliana Pena, she really, to me, represents the future of Hispanic America. She's Venezuelan, she is proudly Latina, but she doesn't speak Spanish. And just, that's a direction that's happening. Univision, full-on Spanish, adding Paramount Plus and CBS Sports, let us go for non-Spanish speaking fans. They could be Hispanic, they could be Scottish like me. If you're Scottish, you need to tune in just to support Scotland, by the way. A lot of people don't know it was a Scot that started the UFC. You need to think about that. But look, global's a good example of what I'm talking about. Global is a great word because it's global in Spanish, globale in Italian. I'm not quite sure the Portuguese is probably something like global, and global in English. So let's all come together, let's all support our home team, but let's enjoy some of the best action in MMA. We say MMA is mucho más acción. We say MMA is much more action. Juliana Pena, great fighter, obviously big fight coming up, great wrestling, great grappling ability. Combate is a little different. When I started the UFC, I started it with grapplers, jiu-jitsu, Gracie jiu-jitsu. Then I brought in Olympic and American college wrestlers. It was grapplers that were learning how to strike. Combate is the flip. We're coming out of boxeo, boxing, taekwondo, Muay Thai, striking arts, and learning grappling. So in other MMA organizations, you see grappling as an offensive art, right? In Combate, you see it as defense. And our fighters want to stand up and fight, kick, punch, elbow, etc. So it creates a much more dynamic fight with a lot more opportunities for a quick end, right? People say to me, Campbell, do you have to be Hispanic to fight in the Combate Global? I said, no, but you got to fight like a Mexican because there's that great Mexican boxing tradition, and Puerto Rican too, of coming forward, standing toe-to-toe, willing to take a punch to give two, right? So we've got this great fighting spirit coming out of Latin countries, which is terrific. But as we're adding Europe, we're also on now in Germany, we're on in the Ukraine, and global is going global. So what you will see in Combate, by the end of the year, we do something called the Copa Combate, which is the Fighting Cup. And up till now, we've had 8 Latin countries represented. The first one happened in Mexico, and Mexico won. The second one happened in California, which is in the U.S., by the way, and the U.S. won. And then we did Lima, Peru, and Peru won. So there's clearly a hometown advantage to this setup. But this year, we're going to open it up to non-Hispanic countries as well. And in fact, in August, we have a tournament that will include France, Germany, Ireland, and Italy, and whoever wins will secure a place for that country in the Copa this year. So it's a very exciting time. We think, look, you go anywhere in the world. I've traveled to a lot of different places, from Tokyo to Austria, right, and south, and I've been to, I think, just about every country in South America. You always see tacos. Why do you always see tacos? In Japan, why do you see tacos? And a friend of mine says, I don't like tacos, said no one ever, right? So everybody loves tacos. Why? Everybody likes this sort of Mexican, Spanish flavor. Whether you're Hispanic or not, whether you speak Spanish or not, you're gonna like what we do. It's exciting. It's just a great, 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 great MMA organization.
And the numbers speak for themselves. That is so great. It really is. It must make you feel really proud too, just to see how no fans, because of COVID, we can't have fans, and you're on a later hour. Some of the others are on at earlier times and on these different networks, and that's fine. But you've been able to capture a viewership that's growing. Did you think that it would happen that quickly? Or do you think it was going to happen over time? Because we were going through that pandemic too. I mean, with all this, or coming out of it, trying to.
Well, it's a good question. Did I think it would happen this quickly? One answer is, we have been working on this for 7 years, laying the groundwork. And if I didn't think if it was going to work, I wouldn't have done it, right? Has it taken off like crazy this year? Oh, absolutely. It really has gone through the roof. And I think the timing was quite good. I think people were pent up. I think they were looking for something different. I think our shows came together in a great way. So we did good work. The timing was right, and it is just exploding. I think that, I'm going to beat up on my, other MMA organizations a little bit. Look, the truth of the matter is, most of the MMA organizations that exist, other than Combate, are really competing with the UFC. They're really going for the same fans. They're going for the same fighters, right? It's people that leave the UFC, get thrown out, age out, and then they pick them up. We have really gone in a different direction. I love the UFC. I really was an integral part of its creation. I really was. Google me. Right? I really was. I love the UFC. But there was no reason to do the UFC again. And there was no reason to do just a Spanish translation of the UFC. Our fights, we have higher percentage of fights that end in the first round. We have a much younger audience. Our pace is much faster. We're very entertaining. We bring in an entertainment component. The set that we've talked about is just fantastic. I think Combate is very much a different product, right? I didn't start this to be number 2, right? I didn't. This is a different thing. It's working tremendously well, and not just in the US with the ratings. The Mexican ratings are great. In Spain, we are beating the UFC in the ratings. So we've got something that's great. I love the UFC. You should keep watching it if you watch it. If you want to see something different and you haven't seen Combate Global, you should watch. And then if you're already watching, you know what I'm saying is true.